Hello my friends and welcome. I wanted to record the video about this topic for a very long time. It is an important one, and today's morning news, morning for me, actually pushed me for this video. So we have the national security strategy published by the White House administration and the President of the United States of America. This strategy really shows that the previous world order, it doesn't exist. And it also marks the end of this economic and military empire, the United States of America. Well, it will still be as a country, but it is losing its influence. It is already understandable. We are now at the disintegration process that will bring more escalations worldwide. Well, let's check out this document, and I want to tell you more about what is happening. It is available openly on the website whitehouse.gov. You may check it out yourself. Signed by Donald Trump in November 2025, but was published just today. So the strategy, principles, priorities, regions, for us, it's very interesting. Europe, because it's the hot stage of the war, what is happening. We'll go to page 27 that shows our board policy for Europe should prioritize. And here what we have. I think I'm gonna zoom in for you for a better view. Reestablishing conditions of stability within Europe and strategic stability with Russia. Strategic stability with Russia, that is what the United States of America wanted to achieve using Witkoff, Kushner and other methods to cooperate with Russia, but it doesn't work as we see. Russia is still oriented on military action in Ukraine for now, but probably in Europe too. Well, at least we heard from Russian officials and from Putin himself. Remember the ultimatum given for NATO countries before the start of this full-scale war of Russia against Ukraine, how Russia demanded for alliance not to expand any longer and also to withdraw its military bases from the Eastern European countries who joined NATO after 1997, as far as I remember. That's why I continue to tell, and it is definitely like that this war is not about Ukraine really. It is happening for now in Ukraine, but the goals are way deeper than Donald Trump or White House administration thinks. It is about reestablishing control over several of the European countries which were previously allied to the Soviet Union or the Russian Empire. In Ukraine, Putin started the war because he thought that the goal is achievable very fast using military action, but in fact it is not like that. And we have one more confirmation. Probably in this video I'm gonna show you the interview with one of the main Russian generals who definitely stated that it was the mistake of the Russian command to start the war just like that, without proper supplies, without understanding that in Ukraine there will be a resistance. They thought that 70% people, they really supported Russian regime, and just 30% they could possess some of the threat or resistance for Russian forces. Okay, what is next? Enabling Europe to stand on its own feet and operate as the group of allied sovereign nations, including by taking primary responsibility for its own defense without being dominated by any adversarial power. So, in other words, enabling Europe to stand its own feet means that in case of the direct threat or direct confrontation with Russia, United States will not meet its NATO obligations. And the fifth article is not really that obligation if you read it carefully. So United States will not deploy its forces to protect Europe, and Donald Trump, with his signature, approved that in this document. It is already evident. It means the destruction of the previous world order that existed for several decades during the Cold War, and right now, then dictators, they want to change this order. We have this response from America openly. In case something happens to our allies, we're not gonna be involved. No, rely on yourself. But the problem with that Europe for now, it cannot defend itself. If Russia starts the war against Baltic countries or some other countries, Russia has a very big chance to win some of the confrontation. Yeah, not globally, but Russia may annex lots of the European territories, and this escalation will not be met with the proper defense. If Putin, for example, starts it in the next couple of years, Europe will not respond promptly, and the Europeans themselves, they openly say about it. Their intelligence services, their politicians. That's why they're always afraid, afraid to escalate. Should we give Ukraine tanks? How would Russia think about that? How would Russia think about this? I even told you about the Belgian Prime Minister yesterday, who openly says that Russia scares us. If we confiscate Russian frozen assets, Russia could implement some of the hybrid war tactics and so on. So they do afraid. Why? Because they don't have unity. They don't have united army. The logistics to send forces rapidly is not okay. The drone component of the army is still at the birth stage. Unlike in Ukraine and Russia, the actual battle experience, we are not counting several troops in Iraq or Afghanistan. Mainly, it is absent. And we know that the war is different compared to Afghanistan and Iraq. It's very, very different. And one more problem is the military production capabilities. Europe doesn't have that strong military compared to United States of America. Yes, Europe has more population. The economy is strong, but for decades and decades, Europe thought that it has a strong ally, United States. Everything was so promising, and they were under this umbrella. But here, United States, they say openly that we don't care. You have to deal with Russia on your own. Will not help you. Get lost. What is next is also kind of interesting. Cultivating resistance to Europe's current trajectory within European nations. So United States not only willing to help Europe, but also they cultivate resistance to Europe's current trajectory. So democracy, resistance to Europeans' democracy. The United States doesn't even see Europe as its own ally. Next, opening European markets to United States goods and services and ensuring fair treatment of United States workers and businesses. Yesterday, JD Vance was screaming loud because the European Union may apply some of the fines against X platform, the Twitter social media owned by Elon Musk, and the fine could be up to several €100 million. So JD Vance was screaming, how is it possible? They again fight against freedom of speech or something like that. And remember that speech of, again, JD Vance, which he gave in Munich, that definitely shocked European politicians. And I also remember how Donald Trump, even during his election campaign, said that he will encourage Putin to attack European allies. It doesn't sound that dystopian any longer. It could be even a reality, judging on what influence Russia has nowadays in the White House through its own spies or just useful pro-Russian idiots who propel Russian narratives and who brainwash not just Donald Trump but entire American deep state. Yeah, Donny said that he gonna fight deep state, but he became the deep state himself, and that state is collapsing United States itself. And Witkoff, Kushner is what we see at the surface. The influence of Russia is way deeper into American political life. And unfortunately, White House administration cultivates that influence even more. Next, building up healthy nations. What does it mean, healthy nations? It's hard to say this. Yeah, after all, it's made in the White House, so they're not so competent. Healthy nations of Central, Eastern, and Southern Europe through commercial ties, weapons sales, political collaboration, and cultural and educational exchanges. Blah, blah, blah about nothing. But this one is interesting. Ending the perception and preventing the reality of NATO as a perpetually expanding alliance. So United States themselves is against expansion of NATO, which is the only institution, potentially, theoretically for now, capable to withstand against the Russian military aggression and stop Russia fully. Also, it has a nuclear capability. So not only United States say that they will not participate in NATO protecting NATO members, but they also say that they will veto, actually, preventing NATO in its expanding. So no longer new members, everything of that will be blocked by the current, at least current White House administration, and that trend may go very, very deep. You may say that, okay, Dennis, in 3 years everything might change. Yes, there is a little chance for that too, but in the coming 3 years, it's gonna be too late for the changes. And Putin understands that he has this window to act, that there will be no backup from the United States, and that he might go to Europe or he might escalate in Ukraine somehow even more with everything he has, including red buttons, and still there will be no response from NATO or from the United States of America. Basically, United States with NATO, they're doing the job for Russia. Russia was against expansion, and the United States under Trump, they say, okay, we will not expand, we will not take any more new members. If Donald Trump was the president previously, he would not take Finland and Sweden into NATO. It's already evident. Next, encouraging Europe to take action to combat mercantilist overcapacity, technological theft, cyber espionage, and other hostile economic practices. Okay, whatever. This is also interesting. We want Europe to remain European, to regain its civilization self-confidence and abandon its failed focus on regulatory suffocation. Yeah, basically they want far-right parties to win, like, for example, it nearly happened in Romania, and also they are friends with Orban, and basically it's the ideological background to push European European partners. White House says that Europe is in lack of the self-confidence, is most evident in Europe's relationship with Russia. European allies enjoy significant hard power advantage over Russia by almost every measure. Poor Russia. As a result of Russia's war in Ukraine, European relations with Russia are now deeply attenuated, and many Europeans regard Russia as an existential threat. It is definitely like that, Donny. Managing European relations with Russia will require significant United States diplomatic engagement, both to reestablish conditions of strategic stability across the Eurasian landmass and to mitigate the risks of the conflict between Russia and the European states. But you make it happen by withdrawing your credibility in NATO, saying openly that Europe should defend itself and not going to help it. You encourage Russia to attack European countries, because aggressor Putin understands that he might take new territories, even NATO territories, and there will be any punishment. In this document, White House also says that European Union governments undermining democratic standards and stalling peace efforts. Yes, it is some sort of the irony to hear about undermining democracy from Donald Trump's administration. United States, guys, it turns into totalitarian state. Little by little, but it moves towards that direction. It has never been like that before. Donald Trump may afford whatever he wants to afford. He doesn't afraid of being punished, being impeached. His administration is applying repressions against those who criticize Donald Trump's policies. Donald Trump acts in contradiction with the law of the United States, Constitution of the United States. Lots of the Trump's decisions, they're actually illegal. They're in lack of the congressional approval. They're doing even war crimes in Caribbean Sea. You know, this scandal with Hexed. And all of the political life is surrounded around one personality, Donald Trump himself. And that is very dangerous. It's not about, let's say, Donny fully, because after all, Donald Trump is very old. He will be gone very, very soon. But this situation creates the background for United States to go very, very dark side. And as I say to you, United States is losing its influence by betraying its allies, betraying Ukraine. European officials already stated about it openly in private conversations, but still this information was leaked. So the current administration is the worst possible under the threats happening in the world. And United States, well, it's already lost the influence. It's already not that huge influential states. Other countries, they cooperate now more against United States of America. We saw this big parade in China with dictators in the front, so they are propelling the new world order, and the rest of the countries will cooperate with them to dismiss the current world order. It simply doesn't exist, as I told you. The base of the old order was built by the United States of America, democratic institutions, but also with implementation of the rule of force, strong military, strong economy, lots of the allies around the world who purchase oil using American money, United States dollars. Even the last year, there were warnings that countries like Saudi Arabia will not rely solo on the United States dollars in its oil trades. And actually, that is one of the main components of United States dollars to be the global reserve currency. trade, and the mighty force of the United States Army. You have to purchase most of the resources using American currency, otherwise United States Army is kind of capable. But now, not any longer, United States is shrinking down to some sort of the regional state. Without the global dominance, it means that the United States is losing its influence that it cannot afford. The debt is very high. The economy has been inflated into the huge bubble that consists of the small bubbles. Now everything is holding on AI. That is the big bubble itself. You may read out analytics, or I will film one more video for you explaining AI bubble. And there are many of those bubbles: property bubble, stock market bubble, cryptocurrency bubble. Everything is bubble, including United States dollar, because it is not connected to the gold standard. It is holding on people to believe in this world order system, but it doesn't exist, as I tell to you once again. With this attitude of America itself, it is simply just a matter of time, then everything of that will just pump out and the global economic collapse happens. It's going to be worse than in 2008 by several times. It's going to be similar to Great Depression. Plus, at the same time, there will be physical confrontations, war, military conflicts around the globe. China, Taiwan, Russia, Ukraine, Russia, Europe. There could be also some internal confrontation within the United States of America. Also could be within Russia. Yes, that's the destiny actually of every empire to collapse one day. But in our modern world, everything of that happens very, very quickly. For Roman Empire, it took several centuries to collapse. Well, basically because the lack of the communication, the information was very hard to get from one place to another. But Soviet Union collapsed very, very fast. The similar stuff we may say about Great Britain. It shrank down to a very small country, losing all of its colonies in 20th century. Also, no one was expected it to happen. Winston Churchill said that Britain will live as empire for centuries. No, it's not working like that. And now we see how the world has been changed once again. And democracy is losing, unfortunately. It cannot withstand this Russian aggression just right away. 4 years of exhausting war for Ukraine, and still there is not enough military support. Those bureaucrats, politicians, they think just about their own profits, and for them, the distant perspective of the war in NATO, in Europe, is okay, because anyways, they may leave their countries and live their best lives somewhere in Bermudas. And the signs of American economy and military empire to collapse, they're out there, unfortunately. What happened in Afghanistan, for example, a shameful withdrawal of the army, and for Putin it was a signal, probably, to start the war in Ukraine, because America is getting weaker and weaker. But with the current administration, it declares its weakness openly. Bloomberg says that the United States turned to European countries with a call not to approve the allocation of the reparation loan to Ukraine from the frozen Russian assets. So let those assets be frozen, let Ukraine be ruined by Russian strikes, not capable to respond because America itself canceled the direct military support for Ukraine, and America calls for Europe not to support Ukraine too. That's the sad reality we are living in. Democracy shows its weaknesses, and it's just a matter of time, then there will be many more confrontation. China will start its invasion of Taiwan, it's 100%, it's already evident, because of this attitude. With the stupid government of the United States and with weak European politicians who just consumed Russian resources and thought that they will never need army, and even now they're not willing to confiscate Russian assets and to help Ukraine with its military. Well, guys, the road is evident, and unfortunately we're losing this war. I mean, global confrontation. After all, I think it's going to be a big confrontation once again. And after this confrontation, democracy will prevail. Yeah, after all, despite what is happening, at least judging on the history, autocracy regimes, they always fail and democracy prevails. At least it was like that in 20th century. But now, yeah, I hope it will be like that. Yeah, kind of the dystopian sad video, but guys, I wanted to tell you about it. I was thinking about this stuff for a very long time, and today I just found the opportunity and inspiration from this new national security strategy of the United States that cancels United States itself as global influencer in the world. Well, anyway, stand by for Ukrainian update this evening, and also if you want to support my job, you're very welcome to do it through Patreon, the link for it in the video description right below. And also you may support my channel membership. You might press the button join somewhere over here. Thank you guys for supporting me. Without you, my job wouldn't be possible. And if you do not have the opportunity to support me in that way, it's okay, just press your like to this video and subscribe for the channel. That also boosts this video in YouTube algorithms. Thank you so much for it as well. My friends, I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are, and have a great time.